Last year, the Federal Reserve Fed lowered interest rates, and everyone realized that inflation was inevitable. However, the Fed stated that inflation was only slightly higher than 2.4%, and therefore there was no need to worry. Since then, prices have risen significantly. Both asset prices, such as housing and stocks, and consumer prices have increased. U.S. inflation has reached its highest levels since 2008 with the post-pandemic economic recovery. As people started working again, spending increased. The Consumer Price Index rose by 5% year-on-year in May 2022, reaching its highest level since August 2008, up from 4.2% in April. Despite the many people who have experienced the harmful effects of inflation, some are making a profit from it. So, how can you profit from inflation? The answer is quite simple. Yes, it is possible. Now let's take a look at some ways to profit from inflation. Remember, the information presented in this text is for educational and entertainment purposes only and does not constitute financial advice. 1. Invest in real assets. Many people do not understand that the value of currency, like other commodities in the market, is determined by supply and demand. Let's say there are $10 and 10 houses in the economy. In this example, the cost of each house is $1. But if an additional $10 is added to the economy and the number of houses remains the same, the value of each house would increase to $2. This is a simple explanation of inflation. Last year, when the economy was in a difficult situation, the Fed prevented a crisis by providing trillions of dollars in liquidity. This was accomplished through the distribution of stimulus checks and the purchase of corporate bonds. This situation led to inflation. In 2020, 22% of the US dollars printed were a really large proportion. This shows that the nominal value of the dollar in your pocket has decreased by 22%. Those who have basic knowledge about the economy have understood the future of inflation. Therefore, those who had enough cash to buy a house in the past preferred to invest in real estate rather than holding on to cash, especially when interest rates were low. Regardless of the true rate of inflation, whether it was 2.4% or 3.4%, housing prices increased by 15% and, according to some estimates, by 18% to 20%. This showed the effect of money supply. This situation shows that real estate investors not only beat inflation, but also make big profits. However, the smartest investors not only bought houses but also took out mortgages. Because leverage can turn good opportunities into great opportunities, especially when interest rates are very low. By the way, we offer education on money, personal finance, and investment topics on our channel. By subscribing to Financial Utopia, you can start developing your financial future. We worked for hours on this video, so please support us by sharing your comments, likes, and subscriptions. As a new channel, every subscriber, comment, and like is very important to us. Thank you in advance for your support. 2. Don't be afraid to borrow. We may have negative thoughts about debt, but especially in times of inflation, borrowing may be more advantageous than saving. If we think that $1 today is worth more than its value tomorrow, borrowing today and repaying tomorrow can be profitable for us. In 2022, the average price of a house is around $350,000. However, 20 years ago, this figure was not even half, about $150,000. Since the real value of the dollar has decreased every year, the value of $150,000 20 years ago corresponds to $350,000 today. Therefore, when the Fed lowered interest rates and began buying corporate bonds, who do you think borrowed this money? The world's largest companies such as Amazon, Facebook, Microsoft, and Apple do not actually need this money. In fact, Companies like Apple are among the borrowing companies that have accumulated over $200 billion in cash. Instead of using your own money, you can invest your money in investment instruments like the S&P 500 and earn at least a 10% return and borrow at a mere 1% interest rate. Even if you earn a 5% return on the money you borrow and invest in your business, you still make a 4% profit. In addition, you can take advantage of tax benefits when you borrow. When interest rates are lower than inflation, every dollar you borrow is theoretically considered a profit. When used correctly, borrowing can not only provide financial gains but also many other advantages. Therefore, being open-minded about borrowing can help you make the right investment decisions. 3. Gold. What makes gold unique is that it is an asset that preserves wealth, especially during times of crisis. When the future seems uncertain, gold prices rise. In 2007, gold prices rose from about $600 to $1,000 due to the 2008 crisis. Investors panicked and started buying gold immediately. The US dollar may lose value and even become worthless one day, but not gold. Despite the US dollar losing 90% of its value in the last 100 years, gold has maintained its value since the beginning of civilization. In 2010, investors panicked again and began aggressively buying gold. At this point, gold prices reached a record high of $1,900. However, since then, the economy has stabilized and the gold bubble has burst. When the economy seems to be growing, investors generally do not buy gold and invest in assets such as stocks. Therefore, during calm, stable times, gold prices generally fall. However, in 2019, when the US began a trade war with China, gold prices began to rise again, and the pandemic made the situation even worse. Gold prices exceeded $2,000 for the first time in history. If you look back in history, gold has always been a great way to benefit from inflation. In 1973, a single US dollar was very valuable, but today you can't even buy sugar with it. However, gold prices have risen from about $100 in 1973 to $1,800 today. However, I don't like gold too much because it is a passive asset. It just sits there and shines, whereas things like stocks or real estate produce something like rental income. They are active assets that provide a service or product. So, why do stocks keep rising? Because the companies behind them are constantly growing. Apple sells many more iPhones today than it did 10 years ago. That's why it's more valuable today than it was 10 years ago. 4. Crypto. I was skeptical about including this on the list. However, I had to talk about it because many people have made money buying crypto and taking advantage of inflation, but it is very risky. The technology behind it is undoubtedly amazing and has great potential, but since it is still in the early stages, it is very risky and unpredictable in the short term. One reason for the dramatic rise in Bitcoin prices over the past 12 months is that the Fed has started printing trillions of dollars, as I mentioned before. Investors bought Bitcoin thinking it was like digital gold, after buying stocks and homes. Many people who were not interested in Bitcoin before the pandemic do not remember that the price was only around $8,000. Before the trade war, the Bitcoin price was only $3,600. People generally get excited when something is all over the news. But the smartest people got into this before the masses and have since increased their wealth by 10 to 20 times. 5. Stocks. This is my favorite option. Stock prices may not have increased by thousands of percentage points like crypto, but they are much more stable and less risky. From July 2020 to July 2021, the S&P 500 index grew by 40%. This is an astronomical return, especially when you invest in the entire US economy. When you buy a stock, you are buying a share in a business. When there is a lot of cash in the economy, the value of the business increases, so you grow with inflation. Moreover, these funds are generally spent on basic needs and desires, which means that businesses grow faster. This is why you not only beat inflation, but also make a profit from it. Think about how much of these stimulus checks were spent on Amazon or Apple products. In addition, these companies received almost free billions of dollars in loans and grew massively. Now that people are returning to work, the economy is reopening, people are spending more, and these businesses are preparing to grow even faster. The key to investing your money in assets that are protected against inflation is not to hold too much cash. Rich people usually do not hold too much cash. They usually keep a very small percentage of their wealth liquid for emergencies. Look at the world's richest people. They are so rich because they own a certain percentage of the businesses they created. As their businesses grow, so does their wealth. Even with just a few $1,000s, you can benefit from inflation by following these tips. We would like you to share in the comments your investment strategies during the inflation process. Together, we can find the most profitable investment. That's all from us today. If you have watched the video up to this point, please like and join our community. We put in hours of work for these videos. You can support us by taking a few seconds to do so. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.